The Lost Ethics Book in ABA. Welcome. I was asked to read a pre-release copy of a book that was discussing ethical issues and behavior analysis. This was about a year and a half ago, and I graciously said yes, but I didn't see this cited. And it got me thinking, if the folks writing our ethics book are missing out on the key resource, are more people unaware of this too? I mean, if we aren't citing it, then probably, but the question is also, how relevant is something like this still? Yo, I'm Ryan O, behavior analyst and creator, all things behavior analysis. We like to nerd out in psychology here. Today is the long lost ethical book in behavior analysis, but before I show it and explain, I want to first recap ethics from the two different ways that I've been taught how to approach it in our field, behavior analysis. So the question is, what are ethics? We can look up the definition just on a broad Google search, and it's moral principles that govern a person's behavior or the conducting of an activity. Or secondary, the branch of knowledge that deals with moral principles. Traditionally in psychology, this was approached by looking inward. That is, ethical philosophers looked for internal determinations, things like what ought one do, were interpreted through the lens of looking inside for, like, say, one's moral compass or developing an internal moral sense of some sort. But in behavior analysis, the field that I subscribe to and what this channel is about, we argue that there is no sense in looking for things that aren't there. No one has yet to find a moral compass inside of us, for example. That is, they're a hypothetical entity, something that we conjured up with our words that actually doesn't exist in reality. So rather what we do is we look to the environment and the world around us and how we interact with it, and how that interaction of an organism like ourselves with the environment comes to shape our behavior, both overt and covert, such as our thoughts and feelings, but also, overt, the actions that we do that anybody can see. And well, our ethical behavior is included in that. So to sum it up, we could say, how does the world around us get arranged such that we do things that are said to be either ethical or unethical? So philosophers and important people talk about this in journals and books, behind closed doors, at conferences, etc. And they usually end up being written down. These written down things are usually in the form of ethical codes. So as a behavior analyst holding a credential from the Behavior Analyst Certification Board, the BCBA, I have to follow their code of ethics. And there are others out there too, such as the American Psychological Association, which I also have to follow. And it can vary based on the field that you are in specifically. That is, the clientele and the types of issues you help people with can dictate your ethical codes that you have to follow. So what about the book? Two things. First, the development of these codes are usually in what I'll label here as professional ethics. All right, so professional ethics. Professional ethics, just looking at a quick Wikipedia of the kind of evolution of this. Professional ethics encompasses the personal and corporate standards of behavior expected by professionals. The word professionalism originally applied to vows of a religious order. By no later than the year of 1675, the term had seen secular application and was applied to three learned professions: divinity, law, and medicine. The term professionalism was also used for the military profession around this time. Professionals and those working in acknowledged professions exercise specialist knowledge and skill. How the use of the knowledge should be governed when providing a service to the public can be considered a moral issue and is termed professional ethics. It is capable of making judgments, applying their skills, and reaching informed decisions in situations that the general public cannot because they have not attained the necessary knowledge and skills. One of the earliest examples of professional ethics is the Hippocratic Oath, to which medical doctors still adhere to this day. So professional ethics are often, not always, but often written in ways that describe what is and isn't acceptable through the form of the behavior or what it looks like. Types of relationships are often described to be either professional or unprofessional, or ethical and unethical. So working with your student in a lab to further science, acceptable, but sleeping with them, not acceptable. Looking at things like in this form of behavior can be extremely good, and this is needed. I'm an advocate of this form. But there's also a way to approach this that is sometimes forgotten, and that is functional ethics. And it's quite simple. Things like what ought one do and what should one do in a situation, a specific situation, is looked at in context. And that means within an environmental context. That's what they mean by context, and this more complete or holistic view. So what does that mean? Well, the situations that led up to the behavior in question, the resulting consequences of that behavior, and other factors such as the location or culture in which the behavior is occurring are brought into the discussion. This sounds much like a better approach than just topographical in some cases, but it's hard in practice because we like to create things like codes and rules, and adding in things like it depends on the context can create a wide variety of issues and just create a lack of clarity. So function adds the question of what does the behavior produce, or what are the outcomes of the behavior? So something like relationships with clients would be a sticky situation, and it's clear why ethical codes don't say things like you can sleep with your students or clients so long as it doesn't interfere and affect the outcome of everything that you're doing with them in other situations like delivering services or in the lab or in class. That would be absurd. No, no, no. However, there are some times when this functional approach, looking at the outcomes, is important and leads to interesting discussions and the development of potentially better or more sound ethical behavior. So I almost hate to bring this up, but in our field, for years, it was a hot discussion if you could accept a glass of water from a client, one that you're providing services to. Is it taking advantage of them? I mean, they're paying for the water, right? Further than the glass of water, though, this extends into things like accepting meals or accepting gifts. At what point does this start to influence how you would treat someone? Can you bribe and influence how you treat somebody? Yes, we know this. Look at the world around you. It's corrupt, this stuff happens, but how much is an individual question? And for that reason, it appears that most professional organizations lean on professional ethics in the form of the behavior, setting guidelines and codes into place based on the form of the behavior. However, let's say that you're on an initial assessment in a home, you hop in there, you're looking at things, measuring behavior, talking with the family, and the family members make you a meal. Something like not accepting the meal from a client is seen as disrespectful to their culture. This can cause issues in the therapeutic relationship. And to what expense? At what point is accepting the meal worth maintaining that relationship? These are the questions that I think are fascinating for professions like behavior analysis. So why does this matter? It's not my role in any way, shape, or form to inform the field of behavior analysis or anyone else what is best. That's for the boards that govern our respective fields and the laws in your area. But I do want you to know that there's a lost discussion on different ways to approach this, and that the form of the behavior sometimes may not be as important as the function. One of those is the functional approach taken by this long lost book in behavior analysis by Kraftful and Vargas, that is Behaviorism and Ethics. Let's take a quick peek at it. I just want to show you what's in the table of contents to hopefully entice you to go find this at your bookstore or online used. First, basic perspectives, ethical philosophy and the thought of B.F. Skinner, behaviorism and ethical responsibility, developing moral control, rights, a behavioristic analysis, still 100% pertains to what's going on today. They then dive into some basic issues of rights, behavior modification, that's what the field used to be called, and civil rights, controlling and the use of punishment, and then protection of human subjects as patients. These have been particularly just in-depth discussions that have happened in our field for decades, as you can see. This is before the whole deinstitutionalization movement that happened, helping get rid of a lot of the institutional settings for people with intellectual disabilities and such. Diving into that in these sections, and then a prescriptive positions, looking at radical behaviorism as a way of life. To what degree is that acceptable? Radical behaviorism and ethics to train advocates or apologists. Fantastic read by Knapp and Downs. And then implications for the future, concluding remarks. There's a couple other viewpoints that are looked at here at the very end, looking at politics, and I like the title here, so it's a good one, the New Puritans. I hope you learned something today, and I hope you go explore this further. If there's anything that I missed you want to share, please share it down below, link it, send it to me in an email. And if you can, like, share, subscribe, share this around. It actually makes a difference if you comment, like, share, those sort of things. And if you check down below, the top link is how you can support this channel. That's your Daily BA.